women as music blares in the background.
What's up, guys? God bless the team for these meetings. I learned more from y'all than almost anything. Thanks, dude. Happy to help, man. MT, good to see you again, dude. Welcome back. We already discussed we're not saying bruv. It's not going to allow that to become a thing. I'm here for the medical advice. Perfect.
What's up?
What's up, dude?
How you doing?
Doing alright. I think I got you turned up too high.
Oh, geez.
Maybe it's your new mic. Did you get your new mic set up?
Yeah, it's all set up and everything, and I am a comfortable, I don't know, 3/4 inch from it.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just getting your mouth right up in it. This is how we're gonna get Gammastrike to the world, right?
Through ASMR, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Let's just talk about sweet Vana.
You know, if I had just finished baking a sourdough loaf, I could have put it up to the mic and you could hear it gently crackle as it cools.
You should just send me a video of you kneading the dough, but only your forearms and one foot.
Like that are kneading the dough or that are in the shot?
Both.
Oh, shit.
So, I don't know if you've heard the latest on what's been going on with the computer that I built. After buying 4 channels, four DIMMs, 4-channel RAM, and then getting to find out that current gen AMD memory controllers can only handle 2 DIMMs, and motherboards have 4 slots for no reason, I switched to 2 DIMM, like a 2 DIMM set with 2 by 48 gig. And then I was like, oh, I popped them in last night, and then I spent 5 hours talking to Vunky trying to get it to fucking work because
Jesus
I had
Christ.
to reset this the CMOS like 50 fucking times. I had to like short out the actual battery to get it to reset, and then I had to flash the fucking motherboard, and then none of that ultimately worked. And so we were like looking at the fucking manual, and I had to like go behind the cooler on the processor and check the screen printing on the actual motherboard, and the arrangement of the RAM sticks was the complete opposite of what the manual for the motherboard said it was.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. But I did get it up and running at like 3:30 a.m. And then I've just been running like mem tests on it all night.
Okay, so it's actually alive now.
Yeah, it's alive.
Oh, fuck yeah. Nice.
Yeah, finally.
Thank God. Yeah, that's awful.
This thing has been a nightmare. I had to like swap the cooler out, and I had to replace the RAM twice. Oh, and they sent me that fucking used video card from Amazon.
Oh, my God.
We got the lo-fi stream going. Next is just shorts of Gherk saying words like lawyer or aluminum. Oh my god. Why has nobody done that? I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna start making YouTube shorts where I just pronounce words. Not correctly. My way.
Yeah, like the way you say GIF.
You mean GIF?
Fuck off.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that you knew so little about Japhix interfaces.
But I know enough about giraffes to know what a GIF is.
Chat disagrees with you. That's all that matters.
Fuck off, chat. You're
Have
wrong.
you
You're
been
dumb.
have you been watching Elon's fucking meltdown all night?
No, I have not. I took a break to play some video games and turn off my brain. Has it been getting worse?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Now
is he just in a full blown?
he's like posting videos of Trump partying with Epstein. And
oh my god.
And retweeting Senator Rand Paul.
Dude, he must just be fully down the fucking drug rabbit hole now and just be so unbelievably high.
This is my favorite version of Elon.
Dark Elon.
Dark Elon, yeah.
Just fully about-faced.
Yeah, which is clearly what his PR team is gunning for.
Dude, it's crazy. Like, it's absolutely crazy what he's doing.
I know. He's literally blowing Tesla up.
Dude, yeah. It's ridiculous. I mean, the thing is though is what's hilarious about Tesla is that, it was just the corruption trade and he just basically popped the corruption bubble on Tesla.
A little bit on Palantir too.
Why would Palantir have anything to do with this?
Elon and fucking Teal are like little ketamine buddies or something.
They do LSD together?
Yeah.
Let Jay Fresh on the stage. He's sitting there patiently.
They like high microdose mushrooms together.
I thought they heroic dosed mushrooms together.
Yeah, in Palo Alto at shady roadside hotels.
Right, with a bunch of like 13-year-olds.
It's impossible to tell what's real anymore. I saw a possible report that Elon Musk was running around San Francisco naked in a K-hole.
Yeah.
Is that true?
No, he's just roasting Trump on Twitter hard.
Yeah, it's all that. Yeah, he's roasting himself.
Yeah.
Every time he opens his mouth, Tesla loses 2%, and he's just like, all right, well, I've got
Do you think
more percent.
I don't think he gives a shit.
He does not care one bit.
Yeah.
If he did, he would have saved face.
He's already got his $50 billion pay package.
Did you hear Trump's comments on like him having a black eye? He's like, he had a black eye. I asked him if he wanted a little makeup. The way he just said a little makeup, I cracked up.
No.
I asked him if he wanted a little makeup.
I need to check
a little makeup.
I need to check Trump's Truth Social. Is Trump also just taking the bait?
No. You know what I've been watching all this, and you know what I thought?
What?
I want to get 30-year treasuries from these people.
Right? Yeah, that's the first thing that I would want to do is buy the debt of these people so that they could spend my money.
Because they seem very stable and
trustworthy.
They're really, really focused on the long-term implications of everything, and not what's happening in the next minute. They seem like they're very, forward thinkers. I think society's about to learn that when you elect really old people into office, they don't have much invested in the future naturally, and so they're not necessarily ideal to have them go through hospice while running the country. And I think they're going to learn the same thing is true for really fucking rich people.
I'm starting to think like the more time I spend with really rich people, the more I realize they're actually idiots.
Yeah. Well, that's the secret is everybody's an idiot. It's all a game.
Yeah, but I feel like the concentration of rich idiots is higher. Because a lot of them are Nepo babies anyway.
Yeah, nepotism is its own. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it looks like Trump's stimulants ran out about 5 hours ago. But he was at it. And he has less likes, comments, and follows than Elon.
Uh-oh.
Significantly
man, he's
less.
Gonna be pissed.
Yeah.
He's gonna be so mad.
He said
He's getting ratioed.
He's losing the ratio trade. His last comment was, "I don't mind Elon turning against me, but he should have done so months ago. This is one of the greatest bills ever presented to Congress. It's a record cut in expenses, $1.6 trillion, and the biggest tax cut ever given. If this bill doesn't pass, there will be a 68% tax increase, and things far worse than that. I didn't create this mess. I'm just here to fix it. This puts our country on a path of greatness. Make America great again."
You know what's really funny is he literally did make this mess because those are his tax cuts that are now running out.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, he has to extend them, otherwise his donors bail on him. It's very important. He also needs that thing that stops the courts from filing injunctions, which is part of the bill, despite it being a budget bill.
We need to prevent the states from regulating AI for a decade. That's really important.
Oh yeah, that's in there too.
That's a really important part of budget reconciliation, which is the only way this bill can get passed with only 51 senators.
What kind of fucking idiot thinks that we need to regulate
the budget?
AI?
Marjorie Taylor Greene actually came out in response to that little clause in the bill and said, "I didn't read the bill before I voted yes on it. If I had known this was in there, I would have voted no."
So she simultaneously admitted to not doing her job and being a fucking idiot.
It's just so beautiful how they're all just like imploding in on each other.
I love it.
This is what I wanted. Such a massive display of idiocy, dude.
It's like that's. I hope you never want to be put in a situation where you're like, if I lie, people will hate me, but if I tell the truth, people will know I'm stupid. Like those were her only two options at that point because people were pissed. They were like, "Why is this shit in here?" And she had to tell the truth and admit that she was stupid because lying was worse.
I wonder what it's like in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district in Georgia. I feel like it's like shacks and truck nuts.
Hold on, I can probably tell you. What district is she in? Marjorie Taylor Greene.
She's in District 14.
I will say she keeps herself put together for 51-year-old. I'll give her that.
Northwest Georgia, like the very northwest corner.
Almost. Calhoun, Rome.
Okay, so like, kind of like rural. The closest thing is like, Georgia, University of Georgia, but that's not all that close to that area. So, yeah, the Northwest is kind of like mountainous, sort of in the middle, like Appalachia, kind of. It's like Appalachia light.
Like so it's like Ding 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 Town where you got blind kids playing banjos?
Well, not that bad, but you'll go to like a small town and there's like one food truck that stops at every restaurant to deliver the same food and they all have the same thing. And maybe
they'll get it from Cisco.
And then and there's like a Sonic in town. That's it. And there's like
it's like rural Texas.
The downtown's like 2 streets.
Yeah, I know those towns.
It's actually quite similar to a lot of West Virginia. Me too.
Before you got up here, Dork said GIF the wrong way again.
Oh God.
He's like trying to get us to lose the subscribers that we have, I think.
I mean, if they think GIF is the wrong way to say it, then Do we really need them?
Yeah, we do.
It
Because
just
everyone
is the wrong
in the
reason.
world disagrees with you and the guy who decided to troll everybody who made it. GIF is peanut
even
butter.
even the librarian. Wow. At 2 Gen.
Yeah, a graphic. It's called a.
No,
it's
it's more like giraffe, okay?
No, it's the word graphic is pronounced graphic, right?
Uh, is this what our town hall is going to be on?
It also stands for
pronunciation GIF.
Journal Impact Factor. And the peanut butter.
Nobody describes a journal impact factor as GIF. They
Oh,
just
shit,
say impact factor.
We have a question. Hold on. This is
Wait,
important.
no, whoa. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Boom. Oh, sheezy.
His PFP is pretty disturbing.
I've not looked at it up close. Oh, fuck. Yeah, it is.
I kind of. Are you the boiled one?
Is that Dork after he got burned?
I'm peeling so bad now.
He looks like the boiled one.
Old Sheezy, what's up?
Oh God, it's Dork's pork.
This is already 100 times better than the Urban Finance Investor Town Hall. Yeah, of course it is.
Because we could swear.
Wait, Urban Finance is still around? That's neat.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Thought he'd have to get his job back
Hey.
at Citadel.
Alright.
What's up, dude?
Hey, how's it going? Nice to finally speak to you guys. How are you doing tonight?
Doing all right.
Yeah, doing
Yourself?
good. How are you?
Pretty good.
Cool, I'm doing all right, thank you. So I like looking at all this, like I'm learning a lot, and pretty sure I don't understand most of it, but I guess like while I'm looking at the site, in general, I get the sense that delta is shorter term and gamma is longer term.
Opposite. Yeah, opposite.
So is that true? And if you could explain it in the most like basic way, why? And then like so also if like why meme stocks are more delta weighted because they're more short term versus like that's why they're more short term, and then more like gamma for stocks that are not so meme-ish.
Hey, Gherk, this
Mhm.
might be a great opportunity to pull up the docs.
No,
No.
I read the
As
doc.
as a visual aid, because I just updated them.
He did. They look great.
Yeah,
I
I
clicked.
mean,
I clicked
If
on
you
it.
could, if you could go to the Delta page. Hold on, let me pull it up so I can guide you directly to it.
I got it. I'm familiar.
Oh. 1.4.2.
I'm there.
Can you share your screen?
I can.
Massive thunderhead rolling out over like just south of me. It's crazy.
so I guess you just updated this.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I still am gonna use your question
Okay. Yeah, you
as a
definitely
teaching-
updated
as a
this
teaching
way more.
as a teaching moment for everyone.
Cool.
Because if you have this question, other people probably do as well.
Hold on. I'm
Gherkin.
trying to find the right screen to share. Give me a second.
You're the worst streamer of all time.
I know.
Ooh, there we go. Okay, so if you scroll down to Delta versus time, or you could click on the side, the little on this page thing.
following.
Okay, so this is delta as a function of strike for calls and puts. So you can see that calls have a lot of delta when they're in the money, so on the left-hand side, and almost no delta when they're out of the money. Puts have no delta when they're on the left-hand side and a lot of delta when they're on the right-hand side, right? A lot of negative delta, -1. Gamma is the slope of this curve. So you can see when time is short, most of the calls in the money all have gamma of 1, and most of the calls out of the money have gamma of 0. And they only change right at spot. So like right next to spot, you'll see any change. That means that when time is short, all of the gamma is concentrated right at spot, and most of the contracts on the chain have no gamma.
Gherk, just so you know, if you click on the image, you can expand it.
Yeah.
There you go.
So that's what Gherk was saying. Like gamma is longer term and delta is shorter term in general, right? So when you're at shorter times to expiry, more contracts are either 1 or 0, and they don't change unless they go in or out of the money, right? So there's a lot of delta on the chain right near expiration or closer to expiration. As you increase time to expiration, as that orange line goes up, this curve spreads out, right? So delta is going to be changing across a wider range of prices. And so all of those, so no contract is going to have as high of delta, right? There's a lot of really high delta at expiry, but all of the contracts will have some delta, and that gamma will change across a wide range of prices. Does that make sense at all? I gave it a shot.
Honestly, I'm gonna have to watch that a few times.
Okay, yeah. So go through and read it, but that's the basic idea: is that gamma describes how much delta is going to change as price moves, because the market maker will only have to re-hedge if the delta changes. And so what you care about for gamma, so what you care about for gamma is the slope of this delta curve.
I knew I'd get the full explanation from Jay Fresh. You're gonna get 100%, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Can I get your like I'm 5 years old explanation?
Okay.
Wait, so the question was, why are meme stocks so delta weighted? We got to an explanation of gamma. So think about it this way. Think about it like a bet. Okay. So, when you go to like a roulette table.
Okay.
What was that?
No, go with it. I want to see where you go with this.
Okay. So when you're at the roulette table, right? If you put a chip on one of the specific numbers, right? It's, the likelihood of the ball landing on that one number is very low, right? But if it pays off big. Okay. So this is sort of the same thing in that what you're doing is you're getting a rough calculation of odds when you look at delta for that contract to end up in the money. So people say you can use delta as a proxy for odds in that sense. So think about like a call that is right at the money, right before it expires, right? It's about a 50-50 shot of going in the money, right? But the moment it goes in the money, it's practically guaranteed to stay in the money. Right? Anything below it or anything like, further in the money is just, it's as that expiry is like, seconds away, they're 100% guaranteed to be in the money. And so you end up with odds of 100% or a delta of 1. So, but the further away you are from expiry, right, the odds are a little more evenly distributed because no one really knows where price is going to end up by expiry. So what they're doing is they're coming up with a decent enough guess of what range we can end up in, and then they tack a little bit of extra premium on top of that, and then they sell it to you. Or they tack a little bit of discount on it and they buy it from you. That's how market makers make their money. So gamma is actually, if delta is that proxy for odds, right? Then gamma is that proxy for, you know, where price is most likely to end up. And so you end up with, you know, if you've looked at the IQ curve, you know, that's a bell curve, right? You end up with essentially the same thing with gamma.
Okay.
And so
It's like
that bell curve like snaps shut.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense. Like I said, I plan on rewatching this. I don't expect to understand it exactly when you say it, but it's kind of like the question I had in mind, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I
Well-
think maybe to try to piggyback off of this idea of odds, like delta is the odds that the contract's going to pay out. Gamma is how wrong that guess was as conditions change over time. Right? So
Yeah.
the market maker will say, okay, well, if there's 60% odds that this is gonna hit, I better be ready and have, you know, 60% ready to pay out 60% of this contract. And then if it goes to 70%, they're like, oh shit, I don't have enough. I need to buy more. And that's gamma. That changes the gamma. So where you have places where there's high gamma, you're going to have a lot of hedging occur if you hit that pocket of gamma.
Okay.
Because the odds that the dealer priced were off and they have to readjust.
Right. So they they hedge short termish with delta, and then as they move along the chain closer to higher delta, they hedge more.
Yeah, or less, right? Depending on which way it goes, right? And they're constantly having to readjust as the delta is changing on all of the contracts that they own. They're constantly having to buy and sell. And all of that price action is the volume on the market that you observe most of the
I like reading the docs, I get the impression that like not for all stocks, but for like more popular ones, that the options market controls the stock price. And
Yeah, I mean, you could easily argue that just from the data, like just from the raw data, that options trading could represent over 100% of all of the volume
not yeah, I guess for like highly liquid option markets.
for the
Right.
whole market.
I'm
100%
gonna
of
try
the entire
this one other way because I feel like JFresh and Doric have never explained anything to a 5-year-old before.
I have a 5-year-old and I'm not good at it. So
So when you were a little kid, did you ever have like one of those like labyrinth games where you have the little ball in the maze and you tilt it
Yes.
and you move and the ball moves like down the ramp that you create by tilting it or up the ramp. And you shift it back and forth. You try to get the ball to go through the little hole. So think of like you shifting that ramp. Delta tells you how fast the ball or the marble is going to move when you raise or lower the ramp a little bit. And gamma is telling you if it's going to move faster or slower with the change in the ramp.
Okay. And it still like follows my like gammas outside of delta.
And the market maker hedging is kind of them trying to slow the little ball down.
Yeah.
If we go back to the roulette wheel thing, imagine the pit boss is watching the ball on the
I'm
roulette
just
wheel,
gonna.
and they see your bet.
I don't know any
Like, let's say you bet-
5-year-olds that just hang out at roulette tables.
I know, but
Yeah, okay.
he's not a 5-year-old. He's
Okay, so
obviously trading
imagine-
and trading his gambles.
Imagine that
so-
you're at the craps table with a cigar and your favorite whiskey, 5-year-old.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm a
But yeah,
grown
like, so-
ass 5-year-old, right?
So imagine this, like imagine a game of blackjack, right? And you the casino are watching a card counter, and you both are watching the table heat up, and you know you're about to have to pay big on him. Like, you can't kick him out, but you know you're about to have to pay out to him, and you don't have the money for it. You're gonna have to go get that money from somewhere, right? As you see this table heating up, just to protect yourself, right? So you can give him the chips or the cash or whatever he needs. Right, so it's essentially kind of like that. There's no kicking someone out of this, blackjack table. And if someone's got a really hot hand, you got to be able to pay out when the dealer busts or whatever.
Okay.
I mean, I don't trade margin or anything. That
Okay,
sounds
so you're
like-
at you're holding your speak and spell.
I'm not
I mean-
tracking that. What are you referencing?
No, this is or you're how old are you?
I'm 41. About to be 42.
You never had a speak and spell?
No, I guess not.
Am I the only one? No, this was popular, right?
Yeah, your
No,
parents actually
Mom-
cared about you.
My mom just gave me books because we were poor and they were free at the library. If I'd started running around my house with a speaker teaching me how to spell, I would probably would have gotten slapped.
No, my parents were. I mean, I don't know what tax bracket you were when I grew up, but I was the richest person on my block until I realized when I grew up I wasn't like very rich at all. But I mean, I don't know what that was that you're talking about. Oh,
Well-
No, I didn't have that.
Well, now that I'm on the Wikipedia page for speak and spell, I'm going to go down this hole for the next hour. So
Yeah, I didn't have one. But once my parents got a computer, I pretty much ignored them, and that's when it was like the '90s, and it was like GeoCities and all that kind of stuff.
An aficionado of the internet.
Yeah,
that was
Netscape
that was
and
the
all
good
that.
shit.
I used to play
Underdog.
MPorgs, like text-based. Some of the people I looked up to when I was a kid, they played MPorgs that were all like Gemstone, no pictures. It was just all text role playing. It was cool, and I loved it. But anyway, all right. I got another question, maybe two.
Sure.
I don't know. Like, because I reviewed these videos, so I don't want to tie up like waste space or whatever. So let me get on. So like on a big drop, what can you look for when bulls are trying to stop the drop and sell a lot of puts? Or I guess like conversely, like on a huge.
Do you want to go? Oh no, stay on the docks. Go to the volatility.
God damn it.
This is dock night. This is
All right,
dock
this is
night.
doc night. All right, fine.
I
Volatility
guess
smile.
more in the charts. I mean, then I know the docs are fancy now, but I mean,
Hey. This is I'm trying to learn you something here.
I'll review them. But this just came out what tonight?
No, it came out a few days ago, but
You know,
2 days
like,
ago.
check for stuff like that. But
if you look at the volatility smile graphic that I created,
actually, the last video on episode 10 was a big one about the volatility smile, and so yes, continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, that's fine. So you notice what happens. I don't know where Gherk's just on the top of the page, but you notice what happens on the left-hand side when volatility goes up. That the price of far out of the money puts goes up, and when the volatility smile drops on the left-hand side, the price of puts goes down. So volatility is another way to visualize the prices of an option. They're linked in this way. And so if you are watching volatility while price action is occurring, you can get a sense of what people are doing. And so if price is falling and all of a sudden you see that the left-hand side of volatility starts to get pushed downward, and it can be a subtle push, but usually you'll see it. That's an indication that, oh, people are selling puts into the falling price. And that's what happened today. I mean, like every time the price fell, you just sell a bunch of puts and rocket it back upwards. And so that's the kind of thing that you can look for. That's a big indicator from the data that is provided that that's what they're doing. And then you can also just look at, so that's like them adding, but then of the options that already are sitting there, you can just look at how much gamma exists at that point. And on 0DTs on the index, you could assume a lot of that gamma is positive. And so if you hit like a large candle of gamma to the downside and puts, you can assume that the market maker is going to have to buy on those, because the market maker buys in the opposite direction or trades in the opposite direction when gamma is positive. So you just look for large pockets of gamma to try to find the points at which it's going to be really hard for it to continue. And then you look at those, you look at the shape of the volatility curve to see if there's additional put action adding on to the existing gamma that could potentially push it upwards. And that's pretty much what happened today.
Yeah.
Over and over
I mean,
and over.
like what JFresh is showing you here is the incentivization of options selling that occurs on a drop, right? So as that price drops and those out of the money puts price up, say you're a firm, right? You got a few $1 million, and your thing that you do is you sell options. Now you want to sell those options when they're worth a lot, right? You want to, and people want them, and you want to buy those options back when they're cheap. That's fairly simple. So you're waiting around kind of all day for this move to the upside or this move to the downside, and you want it to be violent because that pushes IV up faster. And the more that move, the more you're right about that move occurring, the more those options you want to sell go up. And so you get to a point where, people don't want to buy the options anymore because they're too expensive. But there's definitely someone that wants to sell them. And so, the people who own those options want to get rid of them, right? And the people who want to sell those options want to sell more of them. And you get kind of both groups of people doing the same thing at those 2 points. And when you look at, our live data, or you're looking at, gamma, and you're looking at that IV curve that we have displayed in the bottom right corner, you'll see that like volatility is increasing as the strikes move down at each strike, and then as spot moves, the volatility on the further out of the money strikes goes up. And when you run into a position where there's a lot of concentration and interest, the dynamic hedging from the market maker tends to kind of freeze up because they don't have a lot to hedge either way, right? They have to hedge a moving price, but like the static price doesn't really generate a lot of interest. And so at that moment, there's a very big opportunity for people who want to sell options to sell them. And that's kind of what starts the reversal. And also, you have the MMs also, buying into that drop in a positive gamma environment. And so, that starts to turn that around, and the MM's a buyer of options there. So they have someone to sell to. And so they sell really heavily. And the MM snaps it all up, and then the MM now has to hedge the book that they have that just got bloated with all of these sold options, either pushing the price up or pushing the price down. It doesn't matter really which way you go. So maybe that gives you a little idea of the dynamic that occurs there. And sometimes
No.
that process fails. Sometimes those people sell all those options, and the rest of the participants in the market just buy them up, and things keep moving in that direction. And when that happens, those people get blown the fuck up. And you get really nasty, violent moves to the downside, which you also saw today, right? If you look
Like
here,
Tesla.
well, no, not just Tesla, but like just on the S&P, right? Like we got this drop earlier in the day, right? And they sold a bunch of puts here and tried to bounce it up, and they didn't really get a chance to get out of those puts. The bounce wasn't very strong, it wasn't very high. And so now, right here, all of a sudden you have all these people that just sold these options that don't want them anymore. They want to buy those fucking options back as fast as they can, and they start racing each other for the door, and the price just rockets down, and then they do it again, and one more time, and a third time, right? And there just wasn't enough time left in the day for this to sell off anymore, but it would have. And so, because sometimes you have the flows are just working against all these bulls that are like chomping at the bit to sell puts all day, which is what happened today. We actually had some really bearish shit happen. We had a $1 trillion company drop 15% in the last like 2 hours of the day.
Yeah, so the market went down like 0.1%. That was cool.
Yeah. No, we were down. We were down a little bit, like 50 points.
Point out, it's like sharp reversals from downsides. Like it's slower to descend while you're uptrending versus like if you're dropping, it'll be reversed quicker typically.
Mm.
Let me see. I think that might be my only question worth asking right now.
All right.
Yeah, no, I think that's it.
Cool.
I think you guys are awesome. I think I'm close to my 3 year. You guys put together the best community that I enjoy being a part of. And keep doing what you're doing, man. You're doing, selfless stuff. You're great for it. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you coming up.
Praise be.
Not a cult. Praise be, not a cult.
Riku.
Gandalf the Tits has put himself into chat. Everyone look at his weird PFP.
It's just Gandalf with tits.
It's really good looking tits.
You're so childish.
Yes.
Cult community. All right, let's get some more hands. She's got me fired up. Let's explain more shit. JFresh can show you guys docs.
Well, looks like Gandalf the Tits has a question, but doesn't want to come on.
There's a joke in there somewhere.
Wow, none of you guys? I guess we can leave.
Nice old cheesy. Now they're sending doc pics.
Yeah,
this will be the easiest roundtable ever.
it will be.
I don't know how to work this thing. You have to. There's like a thing, and you raise. I don't actually know how it works because I don't have the option to get on stage.
It's a little hand.
Button that's a hand. You raise your hand.
Yeah, and you click the hand. Oh, there we go.
Hey.
Oh, there we go. Hello?
Hello, Gandalf the Tits.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Not
Nice
much. How you
tits.
doing, dude?
Thanks, man. Just exactly what everyone would dream of. A beautiful wizard, powerful wizard, but with tits.
He's
Just
one of the
kidding.
most powerful beings in Middle Earth, actually.
Dude, absolutely. You're talking to a hardcore fan here, dude. I read the Silmarillion and actually enjoyed it.
Okay,
You
so wait a
sick
minute.
fuck.
I gotta get your opinion on this, okay? Do you think Gandalf is a Maya?
Well, yeah, he's one of the Istari, so I would say yeah.
Yeah. Okay, then my next question is, who in the Fellowship do you think knew? I think Aragorn knew.
1 second.
That's a good. I would say Aragorn too, but the reason I would say Aragorn is because he grew up in Rivendell with Elrond, and Elrond obviously would have known.
Yeah, and Legolas probably figured it out too, but Gimli, I think Gimli was clueless. I think the other men were clueless. The hobbits had no clue.
I don't think they really understood the whole turning into Gandalf the White. They're just like, oh, he's just more powerful now, but not realizing that really he's like taking over for what Saruman should have been. Even though he literally in the movie says it, more of what Saruman should have been, but nobody really picks up on it. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a case to be made that that Mary might have known.
How do I get out of this conversation? I feel crap. No, I'm trying to get I want to watch it with my kids, but yeah, I'm not super into. I just don't have time for the books.
You got to do the audiobooks. Honestly, it's a cheat code. Put it on instead of listening to music in the car. Just throw on the audiobooks, man. It's worth it.
I listen to anti-AI podcasts all the time in the car.
Is that like Rush Limbaugh?
It's like, yeah, Rush Limbaugh.
Right. These AIs are coming for our jobs. We got to kill them all. We got to do an EMP over the country to kill the AI.
The same dude can't figure out his junk email, probably. Although, I can't really make fun. I just didn't know how to join this call.
You should have asked AI to help you.
Yeah, I should have. I've been teetering on the question of buying the Chat GPT monthly subscription. But what I do instead, you get 4 questions a day. I just got like 6 different devices. I just switch them out,
Yeah.
I mean,
ask 4, switch to another device, ask another 4.
What are you asking it?
Mostly questions on homework.
Homework?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm 30. I went back to school recently, so sometimes I have
congratulations on that.
I'm
Thanks.
a professor. You're
yeah.
openly admitting to me?
You know what's better than AI for getting help on your homework is office hours.
Do you know all professors? I might be screwed if you guys have like some kind of like telepathy.
Yeah,
we're gonna make like a hive mind call out to all professors that I'm cheating. No, I'm just
I'm already reaching out to my old professors.
Yeah, people try that in my classes. They usually don't do well on the tests, which are most of the grade. I found that the best way to prevent pretty much all forms of cheating, which is also impervious to all of the new GPT tools, is make the tests most of the points and make the tests too long.
Yeah, there you go. Or just have it on a platform where you can't copy and paste a lot of it's online.
Like pencil and paper?
No, like one of my classes is on Cisco networking, their website. So Cisco, obviously they got it figured out because they're, they are the antithesis of they got all that tech stuff figured out. So you can't, when you go to, you can copy anything on the page, but once you enter the test page, you can't actually click and drag on any of the content there. So you'd have to manually transcribe it, and it's timed, so you can't like copy things. Not that I've tried, of course.
Well, of course. Who would try cheating on a test?
If I do digital exams, I have them upload work they've written out anyway. Just because who wants to do work not on a piece of paper? It's gross.
Or a lot of times for homework, like certain professors will just have you include snippets with every step that you did. So you can't just like make a prompt to generate a snippet. Like it does still force you to, okay, cool, you have the answer, but show me how you got there.
But here's my secret. I don't give a shit if you cheat on the homework because you're going to fail the test because the test is too long and you didn't actually practice it, so you're not any good at it.
Yeah, no, I'm more talking on
You're
like
a dick, Jay Fresh.
taking
it works.
if I took your class for the first time, didn't know anything, and I just like I did pretty good on the homework, and then like you just hand me a fucking just a fucking novella of a test, I'd be fucking pissed.
My
Like I'd
tests
be
are
like,
not
you expect me to
unfair.
finish this shit? Like, if you finish the whole test, do you get more than 100% on it?
I sometimes I'll have, it depends on the curve, but usually I'll have a student get high 90s, if not 100 on all. There's always one. There's that one kid, you know.
Ugh. I know that kid. I always try to make friends with them, but they're too antisocial.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, what's your question?
Speaking
Yeah.
as that kid.
What's your question, Gandalf the tits?
So basically, I was just in the chat listening to you guys, and I just mentioned that thing on SMCI when you were talking about how they kind of dump and then sell puts, and then they kind of fight over that. I was just pointing out that that kind of happened today. With it happens every day with a lot of stocks, but like on some days, like you said today, when vol really hits, you can just see it more blatantly, even if you don't have all your tools up. Like you could just actually see it in the price action. But it wasn't. I didn't really have a question, but yeah, I I just
Now I wanna look at SMCI because I'm sure that there's something. I mean that stock is kind of its own meme stock, so I'm sure that there's some different features or behavior going on there. So let me take a look here. SMCI.
the price action. If you look on the daily too, like if you go back 2 weeks, there were a couple of days like a giant gap up. And then for like 2 or 3 days, it was just they were just pinning it right at like right in like the $44 range, just like completely draining both sides of the options chain, which can happen obviously on big moves. But today, if you look at the OI on SMCI, that 42.50. Let me see what the actual.
Yeah, the interesting thing about SMCI though is that I mean, yeah, it's just kind of losing interest over time, which is kind of interesting that it's up at Gamma Max because like the total delta, like people are not trading it nearly to the extent that they were when it was, in the hundreds.
Yeah,
What am I supposed to be looking at?
The SMCI.
Uh,
I
Yeah,
originally just saw
so
interest in it.
the other thing with SMCI is that it is there's all the calls are out of the money. So I wonder if while it was dropping just from the index movement, if people were closing short calls and those are those little bounces.
So I've been watching the options chain with the price action on this stock a lot the past couple days, and obviously that's just a very small scope, right, of looking at it. But what I'm noticing is even every day for the past at least 2 weeks, they just like somebody keeps just obviously whether it's I don't have any way to see if it was at the ask or at the bid, but somebody keeps loading up on calls even like just like religiously every day. Just all those big strikes, they just keep loading more and more and more. And then last week, they ended up going out of the money, and I was like, oh, all right, whoever was trying that obviously didn't get it figured out, so they're not going to keep trying. And then this week, the same thing happened again. Like you look at those. I mean, we're looking at a weekly. This is a weekly. It's not even like an OPEX, and you got 18,000 at 45. You got 16,000 at 47. You got 37 at 42.50. As of today, was in the money. So they had to do some pretty aggressive price action to make sure to get those out of the money. And like even right now, it's up 2% again after hours. So it's like it's weird. However this is happening, there's like a big battle going on with trying to get these in the money, and somebody just isn't taking the hint and keeps dumping money back into these calls every week, and then just missing them.
Interesting.
Like that's a very heavy OI for a weekly, especially for a stock like this.
Yeah. That
And it happened
is. I
last
mean,
week too, and I'm pretty sure the week before. Because I like to do swing trades, so a lot of times when I have like my scanners going through, I find a lot of stocks that are kind of at like around support, high IV. Try to jump in, maybe a couple days and ride a wave. And so SMCI usually is a really good one for that because it kind of has these channels, if you look at it, that have been pretty profitable for me um, over the past couple months. But some of the price action here just makes absolutely no sense. Like random gap ups, and then it'll bleed a couple days, and then rally, and then one day it'll just shoot back down to the gap fill, and then go right back. But all within that, the weekly OI strikes have been absolutely insane. Like somebody with a lot of money is really trying to get this stock rolling, and it's just not working.
I wonder if it's related to like leveraged ETFs, like AI ETFs and shit. Whenever you just see like this relentless onslaught of like steady opening of contracts, usually you want to look to someone that's, some sort of structured product that just is operating somewhat mechanically. Because it's unlikely that someone of that size would just keep throwing bad money after good.
Yeah. Because like I really even thought today, like to see how aggressive of a drop there was with the OI, what it was. Like it did have a classic bounce right at that OI, like right at that 42 mark, and I was like, oh, all right, like you look right at midday. Let's see, 41. Oh, it did go a little bit below it, but it ended up coming right back up to that 42.06, and then it's just obviously a sell wall there. Um, but even today, like there was 5,000. There's 5,000 volume on those. So it's like they expired tomorrow and that person did not sell off their position. I'd bet tomorrow there's going to be like another 3,000 there. So maybe 2,000 of those contracts sold, but someone added even more today and they're not selling them. And this is the second week I've noticed it where there's huge money going to these open strikes and they are just not so they're just letting them expire worthless.
Hmm.
It's crazy. Like
I think
it's so weird to see.
I think someone's selling calls on the money on it.
They could be. That makes more sense.
Yeah, I don't have any like subscriptions to anything to see like where
Mm.
if it's like the bids or the asks
I'll tell
that
you
are
why
going
I think
through.
that. Mm. There's like look at the Fridays. The last few weeks. Those are Friday, both of them. Tomorrow's Friday. It seems like someone's selling, maybe someone's selling in the money calls to like crush the market maker's hedge. Or maybe the market maker is just selling them.
It could be. Also finding a lot of really weird sentiment with the stock. Like obviously, like you said, it has become it was somewhat of a meme, and there's still definitely a lot of meme energy with it.
Mm.
So I mean, that's just an easy way to just absolutely rope money from people. If you have a meme stock and have money, you can just manipulate the hell out of it. But
I mean, you don't even need
oh,
to manipulate it. I sold in the money calls on GME for fucking 2 years.
yeah, you probably took my money.
Maybe. Someone's.
That's okay. Someone's gonna have it.
You were buying out of the money calls. Let's be honest.
Yeah, dude, I was part of those. What did we used to
Oh
call them? The
god,
510 Dans? Was it 510?
the
Is that what they were?
510 gang.
Mm-hmm.
510 Dans? Let's go.
Well,
510 gang. They weren't all Dans.
we played their song the other day.
Really?
Mm-hmm. There's still some of us left.
I still have hope. Eventually, I still buy a leap here and there.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's
Yeah.
buying leaps on GME is not even bad. I mean, I know I hate the stock and I hate Ryan Cohen, but there's plenty of money to be made on it if you're not an idiot.
Do you think he's just going to turn it into Microvision? Just like, oh, we are just a Bitcoin bank now.
It'd be better than the business he currently has.
That is true.
I think he's certainly going to try. I think it's
What?
going to eventually implode on itself because
You don't want to sell your PS5 for $30 to GameStop?
Only if Ryan Cohen personally gives me a blowjob.
It's Pride Month, isn't it? That makes
It
it
is.
okay. Gandalf's got tits. RC's giving out Dan work. Anything goes.
Yeah, civil war was between the richest man in the world and the most powerful man in the world. Like, what else could we want?
I thought it was just two idiots.
Two idiots who happen to be the richest man and the most powerful man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Elon's going to lose that battle, right? Like Trump is invincible.
I don't know. I mean, I saw a tweet today from Marjorie Taylor Greene, who pretty much is just blindly anything Trump wants, I'm down. And even she was like, holy shit, this AI stuff where like we can't make laws on it for 10 years. I didn't know that was in the bill. I wouldn't have signed it. So it's like, I don't know if that's more of a PR thing or if she's actually like, if people like start dipping off of that and being like, wait, this is actually kind of fucked. He could lose support really quick.
Well, Jay Fresh came like he touched on this briefly at the beginning of the stream, where she was put in the position where either she lies and everybody hates her, or she has to be honest and everyone realizes she's an idiot.
I don't know at this
chose-
point
chose
who doesn't
honesty.
realize Marjorie Taylor Greene is an idiot.
The idiots who voted for her.
Yeah,
I had to take
she's
down my
been
poster
reelected.
today. I can't do it anymore.
She's an incumbent. That's the worst part.
Oh my god.
I actually had a poster
Wait,
of her.
I thought
on
she
her...
ran like uncontested.
Wait, this poster is real? You're talking about?
Yeah, I had a poster of her on like the new boat that she bought, but I put Gandalf's face on it.
Oh, so you're into some real weird Gandalf.
I'm just fucking with you.
He's a Gandalf freak.
Hey, let's not kink shame anybody.
Yeah, come on. I'm starting a Reddit channel. So what do you call those?
A subreddit?
Gandalf's Gandalf's with tits.
Subreddit, dude. I'm gonna be the Gandalf with tits subreddit mod. Look,
That's
Mom, I
not-
made.
The new generation of Reddit isn't that cool.
Well, like I don't even know what the community rules would be. Just be like the Wild West.
Gandalf always showing some cleavage. Tastefully.
Marjorie Taylor Gandalf. Jesus Christ. The only rule has to be no AI.
Wait, I mean that subreddit probably should be mostly AI.
I was gonna say I think I would only be able to do that AI. I'm not really a Photoshop genius.
Can we get? Where did you get this picture? Did you make it yourself, or did you ask like?
No,
someone to do it?
I just Googled Gandalf tits.
Oh my god!
And it sounds weird, but the only reason I did it was because I just thought of that name, Gandalf the tits, and I was like, "That's a funny name." So then I was like, "Well, what's my photo gonna be?" So I was like, "There's got to be someone who made a photo with Gandalf with tits." So I just Googled Gandalf with tits, and that literally came up.
God, I love the internet.
Okay, I went to Grok and I typed in a picture of Gandalf with some tasteful cleavage. We'll see what happens.
Oh, let's go.
It's even
You start
better.
working on it. You have like a 5-paragraph prompt.
Post it.
Exactly what you want.
Post it.
This is getting posted immediately once I figure out how to copy it. They canceled the
Screenshot it.
button.
Oh no.
Oh, Jesus
Here you go.
Christ.
You can add this to your collection. Can you make that the
No
first
way.
post on your
Oh
subreddit?
man. See, but mine is like a young girl's. It's just like they're like, oh, Gandalf. Yeah, well, gravity did its thing.
Yeah, he's an older
He
man.
is old. He's a couple thousand years old. I mean, what do you expect?
My 10-year-old son is looking at my screen, just like, "What the hell are you doing?"
All right, perverts.
Grim 2 with the
Back
peak
to
gif.
options.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you guys want to recreate that, me too. I know you're looking for it. I put in a picture of Gandalf with some tasteful cleavage.
that's awesome.
Gronk's got a weird definition of tasteful. Like, that's not black tie.
Well, we can try again. I mean, let's just blow through all of Elon's money. Who cares? One of the suggested changes to the prompt is mystical cleavage, which now I need to know what that means. How is cleavage mystical?
Well, that cleavage cannot be tempted.
All right, you horny fucks. Back to options.
Sorry, I digress.
Jesus Christ. I just don't want to see another image of Ian McKellen with boobs.
Although, let's be fair. Between me and
Okay.
Jay Fresh, only one of us
Hold
have
on.
ever created a photo of Gandalf with tits.
These are mystical.
No, you don't understand how urgently we need to stop this before Jay Fresh only does this for the next 8 weeks. He's got a problem.
I do. Picture. I'm gonna just do more. So
Wait, what? It's literally magical. Oh my god.
Do you have a question about options or Gammastrike?
No, I'm sorry. You guys can get back on track. I was just making that comment in the chat about SMCI, and then
No,
and then
I mean, no.
that's
Honestly, it's interesting. There's definitely something going on there. You're not misinterpreting it. I do think someone's selling in the money options really, really heavily. They're probably trying to drive historic vol down. Because options are extremely underpriced, which puts the MM at risk.
yeah.
And if you notice, like, the end of week is closing below those options every time because there's so fucking many of them. It's definitely institutional. It's definitely like some kind of like dynamic hedging or ETF shenanigans, but it's there.
Yeah. There's big money behind those strikes.
Yeah, I mean, I know the options aren't that cheap on it, but they're a little cheaper than they should be, and someone needs to fix that problem. So, oh my fucking god!
Well, I hope you guys have a great night.
That's what we built Gammastrike for. Was to like. That's the shit we want to see. People obsessively watching a stock and finding gaps in the positioning that's there and ways to exploit that. So it's cool that you're doing that.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Most people just want to know puts or calls.
Tell me which one to buy. No, I've been honestly watching you since back in like the GameStop days. I'm sure a lot of people have. I see some people in the chat that said they have, and I've learned a lot from you, and I really appreciate it. And you guys are awesome. So obviously keep doing your thing, and we'll be here, keep listening to you.
Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
Jordan
All right,
wins.
you guys have a good night.
Thanks for coming down.
Thanks for coming
Jay
on, bud.
Fish, I'm sorry for your new obsession. I take full responsibility.
It's definitely your fault.
Yep.
I'll see you later, man.
See ya.
All right, that's it. I'm gonna fucking ban you, Jay Fresh. I'm gonna relegate you back to the Quant Discord.
Time him out.
God. All right. I'm closing. I closed X. I closed it out.
All right.
No more.
Jesus Christ. This is obscene. If you're on the YouTube, don't join the Discord.
Oh, sorry. I'm back. What did I miss? I just went down a K-hole with Elon Musk.
These are my quants. Yeah, autism on full display.
Not diagnosed.
Oh no! I think I made a better one. Oh no, I didn't.
Oh, I see what this is. We all gather around the table and shower Gherk with praise and admiration. Yeah. Gherk, you have the hugest hands. Thank you so much.
Me too. It's tasteful. Tasteful. It's fine. It's tasteful. Put the word tasteful into the prompt.
Well, do you have any actual questions, or are we just going to talk about Gandalf with tits?
We're not going to talk about that. Here we go.
Ooh.
Here we got something.
Thank goodness.
Hello?
Hi, Zoots. Please save me from this hell.
How you doing?
Doing good, man.
So my question is about Tesla. I normally trade Tesla and other names that are heavily influenced by options like Planeteer and whatnot.
Mhm.
And before I do, like normally I trade kind of like a break and retest with options. And what I try and do is what you do for the SPX W chain. I try and like spot out where I think resistance and support might be.
Mhm.
But I just want to know if this actually holds any weight. But
Okay.
I think so far it does. Where if I'm looking down, I know like you can't see now like what was on Tesla previously, like because it updated.
Yeah.
But I look for spots where there isn't a lot of gamma or delta, and I'm like, okay, this like let's just say there's no news pending or the economic data already came out. That like if let's just say it dumped, that it would just like maybe kind of stagnate there,
Mhm.
and then it would reverse. So does that hold merit where I don't really see a lot of gamma in like one place? Like today, for example, on Tesla, I spotted out like the 312, I'm sorry, 312.50, and that's exactly before like it went back up to 325, and then the whole Trump fiasco happened. That's where it held, and that's where it turned around. I just want to know is that something that I should be looking out for? Because I'm obviously like trying to be very, very accurate.
Mhm. But we can actually go back and look.
Oh, okay.
If you go here to the GXS page, you can just rewind a day and look at what the chain looked like on the prior day. Let me go to Tesla. That'll probably help. But yeah, if we go back, yeah, we were up here, obviously. And yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you see, you're looking below here, where the gamma falls off,
Uh-huh.
or just specifically where gamma is low.
Oh, no, where gamma was the lowest. So I do it the way you do, where I look at just delta for ending in the week, and then I look at gamma for all the strikes, and then gamma for that week.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. So the gamma, falls off to the downside. Yeah, I mean that's kind of outside the range of the distribution, right? And so
Yeah, I noticed that too, because in the applied move, that already kind of happened right around the pre-market. So I felt even more confident saying like, okay, hey, I felt even more, assured like, okay, 312.50 or 315 potentially would be a good area.
yeah,
And then
I mean,
also my yeah.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask also, my other question was at that time, if you go to like the delta, you see that there's obviously a fuck ton at 300.
Yeah.
And my question is that had we not been under the delta flip and the gamma flip, would that like going through that, would have been like not as fluid, let's say?
Yes.
Like imagine we were dumping, but we were still above delta flip and gamma flip on Tesla.
Yeah.
Like would we expect more resistance there? because there
Yes,
wasn't
well,
much.
you'd expect more resistance to the downside in general, but when price is dumping like that, like it did today, you're really going to kind of dump to the extremes because as you pass that strike, as you approach it, the amount of hedging kind of slows down, but as you pass it, it picks back up, and you also have the effect of Vana, which if you look at Vana here, you can kind of see where the bottom kind of petered out on Tesla, and it reversed. And I think it reversed into the overnight session a little bit. It got down to like that 73, 75 level, and this is yesterday, but that's kind of the bottom where all the Vana runs out, and so IV is no longer really impacting Delta at this point, and that's where it caught support. So yeah, I mean, you are. I think you're maybe not looking at it the right way, but you're coming to the right conclusion. Or you're not thinking about it the right way, but you're coming to the right conclusion, if that makes sense.
Okay, what should I adjust?
No. I mean, like I said, you're coming to the right conclusion. It's just you want to think
a different way, or
well, no, you just want to think more about the reason those levels are important for reversals is because IV gets really high when you move into those ranges that are outside the distribution, the concentration of all the distribution at mean, and those prices are very far outside of that. And so as you move towards those prices, implied volatility has to go up quite a lot. And so that changes the structure of the delta at those strikes as IV rises. I'm sure JFresh has a page in the docs he'd love to show you right now.
Yeah. And then I just have another question. I mean, it's pretty much a noob question, but I just wanted to really get some clarity on it. If I see like here, if you go to Gamma, let's say, and there's just a fuck ton of Gamma to the upside, and be it positive or negative, let's just call it a ramp. Would they behave the same if they start going in the money?
You know what's
and
weird?
the same for vice versa?
Yeah, they do. I mean, gamma goes up as they go at the money, and then declines as they go in the money. But the delta goes up behind them as they move in the money, right? So, gamma peaks at spot, but then as that option starts going in the money, its delta goes up. And say you're going to the upside and you have a call, at the money. Its gamma is highest here, but as it goes deeper in the money, the delta on the contract will rise. So what's weird about gamma ramps like that is that they're actually more resistive at each step of the ramp because the market maker's exposure to gamma is increasing. And so the market maker is actually in a positive gamma environment, the market maker is selling as that price moves up. So they're dumping delta, or buying back short delta as the price goes up. And so the more and more gamma you stack up behind spot, the more exposure the MM has, the more they push back against rising prices. And the opposite to the downside, and then that reverses in a negative gamma environment.
Right. So if we're in a positive gamma environment, above the neutral and above the flip, and I see this going into, let's say, tomorrow morning, if I see this and I see the same, but the gamma is negative, will it behave the same because we're in a positive gamma environment?
Yes. Yeah, because the total exposure on the whole chain, because remember, you got to think about the market maker's book as being the exposure to all the options on the chain, not just the options at spot. Now, the options on the closest expiration, the options at the closest expiration do have the most gamma, though. And so exposure to those options is highest in regards to gamma.
Right. Yeah, that I'm aware of, and I also I think what's interesting is sometimes when you're doing a live stream and you're talking about certain strikes at the SPX, you're not even you're mentioning, like, let's just say, for example, 5900 and 5905. You would mention a number like 5903. You're like, oh, if this gets past 5902.75 or 5903, then we're more likely to, go up or hit that 5905 strike.
Yeah, because
and I kind of know, yeah.
When you have like a
ahead.
big strike, big pile of fucking gamma, right? The market maker is hedging into that, but when you hit it, you kind of just orbit it, right? And if that orbit breaks free a little bit, which is just above that strike, this is your, like, say this is your 5900, this is like your 5903.20. Right? Then the market maker's hedge picks back up again.
I see.
And this is one of the reasons that big piles of gamma are supportive and resistive. Because the effects of dynamic hedging are reduced as spot approaches or is at that strike.
I got it.
And you can really think about, like, price just kind of moving that way, because same thing to the downside. When you have like a big downside move and vol spikes, and the gamma at the strike like rockets up, and the delta rockets up at that strike because IV is increasing, and price just gets kind of caught on it, right? And you kind of chop there for a little while around it, and then you take off. As as positioning moves in down here, and these strikes get sold. And that, starts to shift the hedge towards the upside, and then the MM starts to back that upside move.
Got it. So,
but I hope it was clear.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you're giving me a lot of clarity here. And then also when it comes to delta and just gamma in general, I used to really try and hone in on, where are traders selling puts or buying calls or whatever. And then you guys said, like, you're looking too much into that. So I stopped doing that. And now I'm just trying to think of delta and gamma and high concentrations of them at certain strikes as points of support and resistance. Simple as that. Is that a right way to think about it? Like, to keep things very simple, at least?
Yeah, no. I mean, I've said it a few times. I don't think that bought sold is very important. A lot of people do. Right. A lot of people want, like, that edge that like tiny bit of possible skew offers. But I really think it's less relevant as far as trading goes. It's really relevant as far as analysis goes. But traders, you can just buy an option at resistance or support and set a stop. You don't need to be right. It's just nice when you are.
Right.
Right? Like, it doesn't matter what side of that your stop is on. You just, like, get to the resistance and flip a coin. And as long as you're managing risk, the times that your coin flip is correct pay off far harder than the times your coin flip is wrong. And that's kind of the, like, not as an insult, but that's kind of the approach you're taking. It's like, it doesn't really matter as long as I'm going where price is going.
Yeah. I'll tell you, whenever I do it, I do like a morning prep. I refresh the strikes and everything, and I'm looking, and then I see price action develop. It is really fucking accurate. The gamma strike is, and then sometimes also, like, for example, on Fridays especially, this was going to be my next question also, is sometimes I see that a high concentration of, like, positive gamma above spot, especially on something like Tesla, and then I think because it's Friday that the gamma has increased, and then you just see, like, at the open, right out of the gate, it just moves, $10 easily.
Yeah.
And is that because, like, the delta has, or is it just like, and sometimes the delta hasn't increased with it? Like, when I refresh the page, like, I'm talking about when I'm just looking at it, like the strikes. There are times when I'm always, like, refreshing the exposure scanner, and I'm looking at the notional to see if like where if there was like a lot of delta that came in on Tesla or whatnot. But sometimes you just see that out of the gate, and especially on Fridays though. Is that specifically due to Gamma just being really high because it's Friday?
Well, yeah, Gamma's generally on the SPXWs. Gamma's extremely high on Fridays because everybody starts the week buying the Friday options, selling the Friday options, right? And so by the time you get to Friday, Gamma's stacked. There's rarely a week where Gamma isn't like Friday isn't the highest Gamma, um, at least as far as like total exposure falling off.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks. I know it was some very basic questions. I just wanted to get some clarity.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to
Yeah.
answer.
And yeah, thanks. And then I was a little nervous, but just being on for the first time. Happy I broke my cherry. Hopefully, I'll come up with some better questions.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be up here, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Did you say Delta keeps going up the farther in the money the strike goes? If so, I thought Dirk said Delta just goes to 1 and the strike goes in the money. Only when it's like moments from expiration.
Yeah, I said seconds before expiry.
Yeah, it's more than seconds, but yeah, I mean it's like 99.8. The closer you get to expiration, the more the delta moves towards 1, if it's in the money. Dude, I talked about LOTR. You did great. So is it a real gamma ramp where gamma is depicted as flat with some magnitude on this chart? Flat gamma out of the money is very interesting if price moves there. So if you have like a range where gamma is fairly flat, not near spot, like this kind of down here. Like if Tesla got down here, it would probably just keep going down. Because there's nothing really to impinge the downside price movement. And like very few places for price to get hung up.
So what you're saying is there's a chance.
My 350 Jan puts, really hope so.
You have 350 Jan puts? Nice.
I bought them like weeks ago when it first tapped 350 because it looked like it wasn't getting any higher than that. And I was like, oh, I'll just buy some elite puts and see if it drops back to 300 or Elon blows up. And so I got number 2.
Nice.
Pretty happy about it today. He'll probably like make up with Trump and like, kiss him on CNBC in the morning or something. It'll open at 350.
Gotta kiss the mushroom.
That's what I get for holding puts overnight. All right, anyone else? Crowdsourcing analysis is what Gammastrike was built for. Not yet. People are going to need to learn a lot more for us to crowdsource useful analysis. Gamma's going to go up as price moves into those ranges.
Yeah, also, I'm trying to look at your data. Are we looking at the same? What price say it's at?
You got to look at the current expirations.
Oh, you were looking at the
I was looking at the prior day.
I was like,
which was interesting. I mean, if you think about like the drop below 330 down to 300, it's like very little delta on the chain. in anywhere between there. So it's no wonder it was such a rapid drop.
Yeah, we're kind of in a lot of gamma right now, though. Because as we move down into that OI, the gamma increase there.
Yeah, big pump. Yeah. Yeah, because, well, if you look at there was a shitload of OI under here. Like, all the way down to, like, 5250, but more of it concentrated, like, right in here. Wow, we could go further
Yeah.
out. There's a shitload of it here.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much that's sold. I mean, I guess we're gonna find out
If these
soon.
fucking puts get squeezed, this thing's gonna go wild.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if someone said it's like rocketing overnight or it's recovering
It
overnight,
recovered a bit, but it's still under 300.
There might be market makers buying because those are sold.
Yeah. Oh shit, it's Willie. What's up, dude?
Unmute yourself. It'll work better. Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hey!
Congratulations on being an audio engineer for 30 years.
You're right. Yeah, no, I'm in an adjacent craft, although I have been accused of being a closet audio engineer before.
I've seen your house.
Yeah, true. Guilty. Hey guys, it sounds like you're running out of questions, but I'm gonna.
Nope.
I wanna jump off of two things that I heard here as I'm doing my usual evening ritual of 17 things to do, and listen to you guys.
Nice.
So one guest ago or so was talking about positioning as bought as it's sold, and you were saying, you know, there's a way of trading that really isn't that important. Manage your risks, set your stops. You're either right or you're not. As one who kind of is super into knowing that edge, where the hell things are, as you know, as we have discussed. How's my spreadsheet coming along? No, just kidding. Although there were days where you weren't on this week where it was like, here's an object lesson in how part of the Gammastrike product is actually the guy in the department of New York talking all day.
Yeah, well, I'm quickly trying to correct that.
Yeah, I know you are, and I have thoughts on that. But anyway, so, and then we're talking about.
I'd like to hear
You know,
those.
the gamma. Huh? Oh yeah, we will. We'll get to
Okay.
it as soon as I get out of the work hell that I'm about to embark upon
Right.
for the rest of the summer. And you know, everyone's. I'm starting to break away from that, you know, need for positioning knowledge as well a little bit, and I'm trying to rely more on what is knowing the, you know, by the closest to expiry options are the most gamma intensive. Usually in a given week, by the time you get to Friday, they're even multiplicably more important.
Yep.
Describe a scenario like today. I had a really good day when I woke up late. I didn't expect to at all. I managed to get paid twice one way and again the other way. And it was more because I was kind of forcing myself not to look at the service where there's positioning sorts.
Yeah.
And keep my eyes focused on the lower left of the live data page.
Okay.
So I think the thought I had as our last guest was speaking was I would offer as a counter argument, there is perhaps, you know, perfectly valid way of trading without understanding positioning, but there is also possibly another edge in understanding the reaction that might happen at a place of price action, slowing, stopping,
Absolutely.
if one has some idea of positioning.
You were listening to me talk about volatility.
Exactly, right. So imagine you're the average Gammastrike user looking at the live data page, not knowing about positioning, and you're currently having a deep, insightful meeting with your lawyers, and you're not talking about position at the time.
Mm.
In a situation where price moves like it did today, it comes to a point and it stops. Imagine a scenario where price is primed to continue moving
Mm-hmm.
versus price is primed to stop and give us the ever dreaded V, which has given us all our what I call VTSD, V traumatic stress disorder.
This might.
What would that look like on a gamma chart? Because I'm now sort of
something
starting to develop a lean for myself of what I think I'm seeing there. I want to hear your idea of what that would look like visually.
So I think a point at which you're likely to see continuation is a point where upside interest is constant or growing. And spot is,
and we're talking continuation up, like in a case of bullish movement.
So just like I was talking about a few minutes ago about gamma being flat, gamma can also be flat relative to the strike next to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes you'll get like something like this to the upside.
And in my developing understanding, that says to me, perhaps there's the adjacent strip of options has a pretty consistent load on it, and gamma for 1, 2, 3, 4 strikes there is relatively equal and possibly a decent candidate for, if price moves into those, increasing harder, causing hedging to work whichever way the environment calls for at the time, versus no bar there. There's no sort of accelerant for us to draft the hedging flow as it happens.
Yes.
So that's what my lizard brain tells me when I see that formation you just drew.
kind of what you're seeing when you have and gamma can be negative at this strike, right? I'm not going to draw more cubes, but
no.
Price. Let's say spot is here. This is your spot. And
you have a little bit of positive gamma below you and above you.
Yeah, so price is not only supported, right? But exposure will increase to the upside. And as this moves up, the market makers, very similar to one strike with a lot of gamma, now you have 4 strikes with fairly equivalent gamma. And as price moves up here, it's very likely that price is just going to continue out until the market maker is done hedging that gamma, because the increases in gamma when you have something like this, if you want to think of it like, I don't like to call it like a formation, because then people get pinned on trying to
everybody ends up looking for patterns that aren't really.
Yeah,
I hear you.
But what you're seeing here is you're seeing a very constant increase in total gamma exposure as price moves up. And so if price and stable pricing to the downside. And so you get in a situation like this, you tend to get a lot of buying, because who the fuck would sell an option into that, right?
Well, how many times in the past in unique and desperate situations, and obviously, I'm not going to try and solve for the desperate situation. That's a heck of a difficult way to trade. But in unique and desperate situations, like you said, there's been times where it's like we sold options and it kept running up, so they just kept selling more, and more and more and more until they bullied the dealer complex into turning their hedge around the other.
That happened today to the downside.
Right? Yeah, sure.
Except they got blown up over and over again.
Right. They did not successfully cause the V to march the other way.
No. They were unable to find buyers above where they sold their puts, and in the instance where nobody is coming in to buy the bounce, the people who sold the bounce need to start buying it.
Right.
And when the people who sold the bounce start buying it, the bounce becomes a rejection.
Now, this is perfect for my next. I'm gonna take this question one step further. With your drawing there, right? You have spot just above one noticeable positive gamma bar. It's got a little ramp of gamma bars in front of it. And what those say to us, the educated trader, is positive gamma there means as that strike achieves moneyness, it's causing a change in the hedge to the sellers of those options.
And so something
in this
really,
case, would be the dealers.
really interesting happens when you see a situation like this. It happens to the downside too. You can just inverse it, which
Sure.
you know, but not everyone does. And so what's really cool is moneyness is right there in the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about
Can I throw in there, and for anyone listening, that's why we hear so much, well, it needs to get to 583.
Yeah.
Like
right?
the halfway point of that strike zone is kind of
because
important.
like in between all of these are like little bumps and downs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In the hedge. And if you think about
right,
like
some
that
futures
analogy,
get sold, some futures get bought, some futures
Yeah.
get sold, some futures get bought.
About the little ball in the labyrinth.
Mm-hmm.
That little ball falls in, but as it falls, this rises. And that
Right.
pushes it up, and it falls into the next one, and the next one, and the
Mhm.
next one, until this one, where that falls off.
Right. So
And then
imagine, if
that
you
ball
will,
can start to roll back.
right, and put some. Well, don't erase it. That
No.
we needed that.
Okay, I can put
Well,
it back.
Yeah, take that. Yeah, undo. With that visual example, imagine, if you will, where you are at spot.
Sort of.
Okay. Well, imagine spot's right before that large bar.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's, similarly sized positive bars around it. So you're saying to yourself, okay, price action is eating through some strikes where whoever sold those options, they're having some delta happen to them.
Yes. Yeah.
As we move on. So there's a sort of two visuals I think you could give people that might help them understand this. What would that look like if the next couple strikes are substantially sold versus bought? In other words, the dealer owns them or the dealer doesn't own them. How does their hedge change? I think that's something people, I know I have a kind of picture in my head of what's going to happen when I see that. And I believe if there's substantially sold options, would we not be crushing gamma?
I think if these are dealer longs, as you go up and the dealer hedge exposure falls off, the dealer is going to buy puts
Or sell futures. They're going to obtain negative delta somewhere.
Yeah.
Presumably, if it's not in some sort of a scenario where dealers have to turn to other dealers to do their business, they're going to do it.
I mean, kind of what happens when you hit that point right there is like if you have like a little car and it's on a board, right? And you tip that board back and forth, and that car moves one end of the board to the other. That's like your delta, right?
Right.
So you tip it this way, car rolls back and forth.
Sure.
Now, when you hit that, right, it's like someone tips the fucking board super hard.
Sure.
And then,
that
board levels back out.
And that could be not even as much the market maker selling their delta. It could just be the market maker ceasing to buy more delta.
Yeah, or they've
response to
reached like peak exposure. They don't need to pick
and
up
for us, that's where the delta flip may come, and that's why the delta flip comes in handy in my mind. Is that I want to know when they're stopping doing that.
Actually, the delta flip is kind of the the delta flip is kind of the opposite of that. The delta flip is there's similarities.
It speaks to the. I think that there's sort of an A and a B scenario, and it speaks to more our customers getting squeezed out of their positions, buying them back.
Yes.
Or is the dealer getting squeezed out of their position, buying more futures or selling more futures. And you got to kind of hold both A and B scenario in your mind there, I think. And
Well,
I
you
think
do, because you have positive and negative gamma environments, which change the
exactly
dealer behavior.
And whereas I enjoy the two places where you're calculating where the hand of the market maker complex becomes very light.
Yes.
It's right around that line. And some say that you can picture that like a plateau. Like there's a couple of strikes around spot that, they're probably pretty much taken care of.
Yeah.
And there isn't a hard and fast price has crossed one more strike, therefore hedging will change. That's not necessarily the case.
Yeah. I mean, this is like a scenario where if you, and I look at bought sold all day, and I don't really know how much it actually helps me, but I do see it. You know, I have data for it.
I see it every 10 minutes, as you know.
I know. And I have issues.
I know,
with that, but
and I do too.
but you know, this is like this point here is a situation where you're going to see like in the money puts come in. Like,
sure, and you see, I think
they're going to want that delta, and they're going to want it heavy. You know, it's not like they're going to buy the out of the fucking money put. They're going to buy the at the money and in the money puts, and that's going to stop price like a fucking brick wall.
Right, and what I'm aiming to learn is what that looks like on the live gamma chart when that happens, because I'm assuming
when you hit
that's
that
going to look very different than it's going to look if everybody's buying those, if everybody's selling those puts, trying to turn everything around.
So
like trying to save themselves from further drops or
when
whatever.
you hit that brick wall, I think the first thing you're going to see on the live chart is right where that car started pushing uphill back here at that little strike. You're going to see that strike flip negative.
Right.
And you're going to see this strike drop.
Because your chart is expressing because your chart is endeavoring to express the dealer's position, right?
Yep. And then that board starts to tilt more this way.
Right. And that's why that goes negative, because dealer is taking on negative delta by buying from all these sellers of puts their puts.
Yep. And then their hedge is shifting.
Got it. I think there's some good alpha there with this of like, there's kind of the big four scenarios, right? We're moving into bought strikes. We're moving into sold strikes. The reaction to these bought strikes is there's more being bought. The reaction to these sold strikes, there's more being sold, and then inverse all those, right? And like,
and you saw this happen at the top of the action today. You described it.
Well, I slept in, so
well,
I came into the market halfway and was like, maybe this will be no big deal, and then I had a really good day. 36 hours of work in 3 days. We'll do that.
Jesus, that's rough. I know how you feel.
Yeah. So yeah, no. So okay, that's what I'm getting at. I think that in lieu of like just straight up coming up with like a graphical representation of positions, so people see, rather than relying on voice, the outliers, the strange, interesting situations of, you know, where did 30,000 puts at 3 strikes away just come from? Well, who cares where they came from? They're there. I can see it. I saw the numbers shoot up in front of me. Now I know. I can take some kind of action or take no action because I know it. In lieu of that being presented in some kind of spreadsheet form, that might be a document or a training thing for people in the future. Is like, what does the gamma chart look like when those things happen?
You know, something
and
really
you gave it a fantastic example there of like, if there was a bunch of selling going on back there, then one of those little bars is going to do something unusual.
Yeah.
So that's great. I mean, that's a great visual cue for people to, you know, put in their library and watch for.
I've talked about that on the stream a little bit. I'm like, you know, keep an eye, not at, because everyone hyper focuses, right? I mean, spot encourages you to look at spot. I mean, it's right there in your face,
I mean,
you know,
so you know, that's what I'm doing. I'm zeroed in on the lower left
I'm trying to think
and
of
trying
it
to
more
learn
dynamically.
its visual cues. You know.
Yeah, no, and there are visual cues, but generally you want to be ahead of those,
Well,
in
sure,
your
sure.
assumptions, right? At
And
least.
and as much as you're trying to think ahead, those will either validate or invalidate what.
Yes, yeah. That you could use them as a confirmation that you've made the right decision, but I would
Yeah, I
say
mean,
they
I
probably
was
come a
in.
little late to be a signal of the
Sure.
correct
I don't remember
decision.
the exact look of it now, but like I was in 59.50 puts, and they paid me, and then I was in 59.55 calls, and they paid me the other way, and then I took another shot at 59.50 puts, and they paid again, and it was all from that the expressions of what was going on the lower left.
Yeah.
That gave me the go, like it gave me the green light to not just sit there and go, I don't know, maybe this isn't a good idea. You know? And I was like, yeah, you know what? Okay, I'm going to go for it. And it worked out. So, I'm not to the point I can articulate it or train somebody what I saw, but I saw it and I tried it and it worked. And that's like step one of perhaps not caring about a spreadsheet anymore, if you could be so lucky.
But it is step one.
It is step one, but I would only counter argument to the statement that like positions aren't important is it's just another thing to know, and I'm not sure that
I'll tell you something that
once it's
happens to
something.
me a lot in the intraday.
Mhm.
You get a lot of. You have to look at the position in aggregate when you're looking at bot sold, right?
Sure,
You
not
can't-
everybody is just trading 0DT.
Yeah, well, not only that. I mean, you have to think like it doesn't. If the dealers long a bunch of puts there, but the overall net puts are sold, it doesn't really matter that the dealer is long because the exposure there is negative.
Right. I picked up from another place. Sometimes there's hedging for the moment, and sometimes there's just doing business.
Yeah.
There's just the routine work of something that came in that has nothing to do with today, tomorrow, or even next week.
Yep. And there's hedging going on in SPX that is derivative of underlying components and ETFs, and yeah, there's a lot of noise, right?
A lot, yeah. Here's
tons of noise.
Here's an interesting factoid I heard recently that the list of what do they call them? Accredited liquidity providers.
Yeah.
Is over 700 entities now. Obviously, there's only 5 or 6 that are the big dogs, but
the big dogs are influencing mostly everything.
Sure.
The little guys can't sell the spot market. They can't make the spot market. So
somebody who's making 1.2% of
yeah, there's just really what you have there is like 600 dipshits that are squeezing like a quarter,
doing a few percent.
They're doing like a 0.25% on the tails. And some days that pays them really, really big, but most days it just keeps their lights on.
You're right, and because they're doing other. But I heard to go with that, two other little factoids were estimates are that only about 18% of them or so are actually actively dynamically working their positions in the Globex hours.
Mm-hmm.
And it's mainly the large ones and the ones that have a lot of international business.
Yeah.
But many of them are literally like systems off, go home for the night, come back at 7 a.m. and play whack-a-mole with the price.
Yeah. I mean, usually some algorithmic ES buying, selling.
Sure. Yeah. Right. Following
they've got an algorithm there that's going to keep their exposure near zero,
relatively neutral,
between like 0.01 and negative 0.01.
A tolerable range.
Yeah.
But the other interesting one was that there's the 600 dipshits who, if for some reason all end up doing the same thing, can outweigh the 100 heavyweights.
They can definitely shift things.
So it's just very interesting to think, like some of the
are they the modern
craziness.
Day shoe shiners? Is that what's going on?
Kinda. There's
I mean, if there's like okay, so if that's the case, then I mean, if they are all moving in unison like that, I mean, on vol shorting strategies, was it kind of seems like is prevalent, especially ever since the beginning of the AI boom.
I mean, you
then
also
it-
you have
you
a
know,
you have
this-
a bond market dynamic there too, where they need to sell the tails.
Yeah, so
Right,
the,
right,
the,
right.
that
So
that begs
there's
the
some
question
big
though, of what's
sellers
the
on
overnight
tails,
risk?
too.
Well, I just thought it
Like-
was interesting to like. I guess the number breached 700 recently, and people were like, "Ooh, that's a lot. That's a lot."
That is a lot.
Get anybody to buy a desk.
I
on
can't
the
think of
CBO
700 different of anything, let alone
Let
accredited
alone
liquidity providers.
Doing this crazy stuff. Anyhow, okay. Well, that was those are the things that popped into my mind here as I do 3 other chores. Was that you've talked about it a little, and it could be something people are ready to move into, is like really understanding that gamma, you know, that flex each direction.
I was going to tell you,
and kind of the basic large scenarios and what they indicate, like what they might look like.
Today something fun happened, and this was at like 5870, and I'm looking at bots, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 5870 was just this. It was almost equivalent sold calls, sold puts.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck do you do with that?
Yeah. Well, at least you know. You might be wise to practice patience right now, because entities bigger than you are contesting this strike, and do you really want to be in the middle of it?
Yes, because one's gonna win. Like, absolutely want to be in the middle of that.
And I am definitely one who, you know, I want to be on both sides of it. I might be right one way or the other, although I do get roasted when it doesn't move at all. Which I'm working on.
Both sides so that you always come out on top. Classic.
Basically. At one point I was in another 58. I was in a 58-35 put and a 58-50 call. 59-35 put, 59-50 call. And they worked both ways. One of them was terribly red at one point, but it was like, I think this might just come back and pick me up, and it did. So yeah, okay. So that's where I'm at. Is I'm trying to learn what those things look like, in absence of, you know, a readable presentation of a breakdown of the positioning and how it's beyond the every 3 minutes late past every 10 minutes the hour that I get from service.
Yeah.
Which again is only feels like about 30% total of what I hear go by when I'm listening to the stream. Which speaks to what one opinion I was given was, which seems valid to me, was like, there's a lot of violence and noise that goes on from minute 1 to 9 that doesn't really end up being durable. And it doesn't end up in those reports.
A lot of positioning is, though. There's noise and it pops in and out, but there's a lot of positioning that stays.
Right, and
when you have somebody
proponents
betting
of that
big
other technique say that's what stays in the report 10 minutes by 10 minutes by 10
that
minutes
I
all
don't
day long. Okay.
I believe very firmly, and I understand that report, that it is loaded with information, a lot of which does not affect the exchange at all.
Oh, interesting.
Because that is an aggregate report specifically for the 600 idiots selling the tails who don't properly balance their hedge, and enough investment banks, or let me put it differently, enough of their prime dealers told SIBO, hey, these guys are taking on too much risk, we need to give them something, because they're going to fuck us. And that's what that report is for. The point of that report is you're supposed to ingest that report as a liquidity provider, right? And you were supposed to look at you take that report and you hold it up next to your book and you go, oh, okay, I'm good for another 10 minutes.
Jesus. You know this is it's all so fragile. It's just so fucking fragile.
Yeah.
We saw it. Well,
Like,
we saw it on
global
Liberation
financial
Day.
markets are pivoting on some guy holding up a report.
Like,
It's about as
Well, we all like Dirk said, we all saw on Liberation Day what happens when those guys do get blown up.
and the bounce, dude.
And at the end of the
bounce was
day,
nuts.
remember,
The
it's like
bounce
those
was
dipshits
crazy.
on Wall Street bets who owe Robinhood $10 million. That's fucking Robinhood's problem.
if I owe you $100, that's my problem. If I owe you $1 million, that's your problem.
Yeah. And that's how the prime dealers are looking at those guys who are selling the tails.
I get it. All right.
I mean, you saw it on Tesla too. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a
Tesla-
500 point wick on SPX, and you'll see real fast those liquidity provider numbers drop to like 400.
In that moment, there's approximately
200 of
7
them go out of business.
Well, in those moments of crazy stuff, like remember when VIX went undefined?
Yeah.
That little mini Volmageddon that happened? Like, that was another signal that these liquidity providers are actually incredibly fragile. Because if they were really there and they wanted to short tails, they would have been there shorting tails. They were nowhere.
Yeah.
Until the next day, they were there. Right? It took till the next day for them to have enough balls in their shorts to actually short some vol and,
You mean for them to get their margin extensions approved?
Yeah, sure. Whatever you want to call it.
I mean, there's a
Balls in
dude
short
on a
margin.
phone when that happens going, please, fuck, give us more money.
Yeah, seriously. So, like, yeah, and that money probably settles in T+1 now. So,
Right.
like it's yeah. You're absolutely. I think that you're pointing out something that we've been talking about, and maybe what it is called the accredited liquidity provider. If you're one of those
something like
guys-
that. I may have the term wrong, but there was some.
Well, okay,
fancy
yeah,
term
yeah,
like that,
something like the authorized liquidity provider, whatever.
Something or other. Yeah.
That sounds like the
Basically,
thing you want to do because it probably
SPX
gives you
market
access to. It probably gives you a lot of access to leverage.
Gives
I
you a
would
shitload
imagine
of
so.
access to leverage.
Yeah, so
Because
I
you're
think
supposed
these
to be
guys
sitting
might
on
be
a balance. The
over-levered.
presumption is you're sitting on a balanced book. That's why Citadel reports show Citadel being like fucking net 90% positive credit on shorts. Because they can just carry that shit around because their book is balanced perfectly. And they can carry it around at like 300x leverage. So it's a
Forever.
$50 billion fund with like 700 billion in exposure. I
What
mean,
could
like
possibly
the
go wrong?
leverage is real obvious. I mean, with Citadel, not much.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That'll be fine.
Yeah, they'll be just fine. But no, yeah, it's fascinating though, right? Like it kind of lends credence to our idea that there is a lot of overextended shorts, ironically enough, on SPX, just in the volatility sphere.
Fucking just in the intraday. Look, I mean, today was a great example of how just overexposed they are.
Yeah, Tesla started going down, and then the rest of the market started just fucking almost free falling.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because the longs
All right,
don't
well-
stay, right? But and this is something important to remember on the zero GT. The longs,
the longs won. When you're losing, you sit around and wait to win again.
yeah. Well, no, even no, not that. The longs won. But if you sold, like, if you bought a call, you did great. You're gonna close that shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're $50, $60 in the money. But the guy who sold a put with 3 times the theta, he's still trapped in that position.
Yeah.
He needs the price to stay up there. It can't come back.
I get your saying, sure.
And so what happens is, price pushes up and the longs take profit. But everybody who sold the put short, they're just exposed, sitting there with no fucking support above them to hold price up. And they're the accelerant to the downside. It's like dousing yourself in gasoline and then running around a campfire. It's like,
Don't
I
try
really
that at
hope
home,
a
kids.
spark doesn't hit me. Yeah, don't.
Well, it sounds
do
like
that at home.
it sounds like overnight straddles, right? The overnight straddle play ultimately stands to gain from this. if what you're saying is correct, that they're not overnight hedging.
Wait.
Well,
Like-
the research was that something like less than 20% of them are actually active overnight.
Yeah,
Obviously,
so
the big ones that do a lot of international business, but then just not that many, which is shocking to me. I think
yeah,
every
so that
single
means that-
possible
I
place
wonder how
with
they're
money would be
gauged.
like, put somebody on a desk and keep your eye on this shit.
See, like I don't think that's entirely true. I think they're just not active on Globex. I think they're just managed, like their book's small enough.
Right,
that
it's
they can
automatically.
just-
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
They're
sure.
managing it with ES, and like the study they're doing is looking just at Globex.
Right.
Like, how many of these
That is
liquidity
true.
providers are active on Globex? Probably not very many, but I'm sure all of them are, hedged with MES or ES. To
I
balance
think the point of the
overnight
whole
delta.
exercise was somebody was trying to determine like why do overnight moves? What's the mechanics there?
Because you're
Why are they
well,
exacerbated?
You
And, like,
have
somebody was trying to solve for that.
You have two really big factors in that. One, you have very wide bid-ask spreads.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can't help but go up and you're taking bigger steps up taller stairs both directions.
And then two, due to the wide bid-ask spreads, you have less pressure from dynamic hedging.
Well, yeah, sure. Like they're saying,
And so,
not everybody's
just
awake.
like when you have a day that's very low gamma, like today, there's not a lot of dynamic hedging going on. On a day where you have a lot of gamma falling off, you have a ton of dynamic hedging. It's really, acting as a counter resistance on price both ways. So like yesterday, it's not midnight yet. Yesterday, we had a really high gamma expiration, right? And fucking price just stayed flat all day. It was boring as shit.
Yes, that was
Today,
awful.
almost no gamma on the chain. Price went up and down like crazy. Like a fucking yo-yo. And that's because there's less of an effect of dynamic hedging. And that's what you get in a negative gamma environment as well.
Right.
Is you get the market makers selling everything, right? And so they're just accelerating price in every direction constantly. And in a day like today, they're just not doing much. They're not really pressuring the drops to the upside, and they're not selling into the upside super hard. So you get big swings.
Which is it's just good, fine with me.
That's why we added the that like feature to Gammastrike. Was because we wanted to like show people, like how to interpret the way the market is going to behave the next day. Now this can all change, right? You can get a day where the gamma is very low, and then by that night it's moved up a lot. In the intraday you gain a lot of gamma, and so that's something you have to be aware of. But it definitely gives you an idea about the trading environment for the next day. Relative to the day before it. So if you have a really tight day, probably really high gamma. If you have a really loose day where you have big ranges, probably very low gamma. And we could see that at market open today. There was like no gamma on the chain anywhere except 50. Like if you go look at the picture from Pickles Picks last night on the 0DT, gamma was real slim.
It was very low.
Yeah.
I tend to sort of look at Delta first, but I don't know. Maybe I should change that.
Delta's
Feeling
good
like
too. I mean, Delta tells you
like Delta's
the
real things there.
The amount of
They're going
Delta
to be
falling off
accelerated or not.
tells you like Friday here really tells you more about what'll happen Monday, because you're losing $43 billion in Delta, just poof. This tells you more about what'll happen on Friday.
Right. Oh, good point. Sure. I
See,
get you.
where's that
I
fucking
get you.
up there? That's updated. I was looking at the older one.
Are we past the update time? Yeah, we are.
Yeah, way past. It's like 6 o'clock.
Good. Is that fully automated now, or is that still Dork's job?
No, it's automated.
I
And now
just pictured Dork like going through one line at a time.
And now we update OI in the morning too, so no more of that old OI shit.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Yuck.
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 Yeah. Fucking gross.
All right, excellent. Thanks, guys. Good discussion.
You too, man.
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna.
Don't
jump
forget
back
the
into my
ideas
work.
that you have to tell me about when you're done working.
Yes, we will. Yeah, once I get through this perilous work time, we will. We'll do a little group chat.
Seaweed said this was a really good stream. I'm gonna rewatch it. Fuck yeah, man.
Excellent. All right. Throw me out here because I'm gonna head on and do my thing. Have a
All
good
right.
night, and I'll see you all tomorrow.
Later, man. See you
Yeah,
tomorrow.
thanks for coming on, bud.
All right, I think that's a wrap.
That was captivating, though.
Yeah, no, that was a good talk. Those are some. I like getting into the like technical shit because I don't get to talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
So any opportunity to get like deeper into what's going on is pretty exciting.
Oh yeah, for sure. And everyone had good questions today. We got to bust out some docs.
Yeah,
It was great.
yeah. JFresh finally got to show people his docs, send them some doc pics.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sure not learned a lot about Gandalf's tits today. So everybody's really a winner.
Oh yeah.
Good night, everyone. You guys are making an insane platform. Some would say the best platform.
Kind of
Not
the
me.
idea.
Not me, but other people. I hear them all the time. You go places and they say,
It's me.
Gammastrike, it's the best platform.
That's Nuke. We just walk around saying it. and
Just
you hear
people.
us
They
it.
say it's the best. Like nothing you've ever seen. Exactly. The biggest and the best. Huge.
I know some smart guys, really smart. You should know them. They went to college.
Years ago,
College
they
educated
said
people,
they
they
said
say.
regular people can't have this, and we're making you have it.
It's unbelievable, really, what we've managed to accomplish.
Mini traders. Oh my god. We should write fucking fake Trump speeches about Gammastrike.
That's how we do our earnings calls.
I feel like we'd be in violation of the law if our earning calls were that unspecific.
But we have to have Atomic read them, of course.
Yeah, because he has the earnings call voice. All right.
I'm just thinking of Atomic reading a Trump speech. A financial.
In just a perfect monotone.
Oh man. I love that guy. Well,
All right.
yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
call it a night. There's
JFresh
no more
JFresh
questions.
clearly left hours ago.
Yeah, he's gone. he's busy sedating his kids.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys all so much for tuning in. If you haven't checked out Gammastrike, you can check it out at app.gammastrike.com, and you can check out the newly updated documents. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow. Later. Night, George.
Good night.